Physical versus digital games. You knew this one was coming sooner or later, and it was a great episode to record. We actually had a lot of fun debating this topic back and forth, and I actually had no idea going into this episode what everyone's preference was, and I was surprised to hear some of the answers that we got. So let's go ahead and jump right into episode number 5, physical versus digital gaming. Welcome to episode 5 of the Modern Gaming Weekly Podcast. I am the Able Geek, Able himself, and I'm joined with Beardy, Bento, and Brown Baymax as always. Thank you guys for tuning in. How you guys feeling tonight?
Feeling good. Feeling good.
Doing pretty well.
Yeah. It's episode 5. Have you guys heard anything, any reviews, any good things in the podcast from anybody that's listened to it so far?
So far, I mean, I have a couple of friends that are actually enjoying it. Like my friend Risha. Who else? I just introduced Brandon to our podcast, so he's going to be starting to tune in while he drives to Texas. But yeah, there's a couple of people that listen to it. I just don't remember who exactly listened to it.
Yeah, if you're driving to Classic Game Fest, go ahead and give us a listen there.
It's a lot of time. You can fit in all 5 episodes, I'm sure. What about you, Bento and Beardy? You guys heard anything yet? Any feedback as of yet?
Nothing yet for me. I just recently told my coworkers about it, so we'll see. And I have it up on my socials, so
I gotta do that.
Advertise it on your socials, my friend.
I did, but
advertise the art account.
Yeah, I've been a little late to that. I was posting a little late to the socials, but I'm getting it now. And mine's feedback. It's been 50-50, I think. Some people told me I like it, some not so much. We'll see. We always like constructive criticism. I have a theory though when it comes to entertainment. Some people call it the Friends theory, some the Office theory, because those shows are kind of just on. So if you don't like us now, my theory is in 5 years you will like us, because we just been on for 5 years. You won't have a choice anymore.
Yeah.
So you'll like us eventually if you don't like us now. We'll grow on you guys. But today we have an exciting topic. It's a topic that I thought would come a little later, but I wanted to get this one out of the way because this is a topic that comes out a lot in video game collecting, people who just play video games, and it's physical versus digital media. So I wanted to jump right in it. Thoughts on digital media? What do you guys think overall?
I'm a big fan of digital media. I really like digital downloads. I got enough stuff in my house that I don't need, a whole bunch of cartridges and cases laying around and whatnot. So if I can get it digitally, it's usually cheaper too, which is kind of a nice added bonus for the most part, unless it's like Nintendo, which doesn't go on sale very often. But overall, yeah, I'm a big fan of digital downloads. The only caveat with that is, do I really own it, or
very true. Yeah.
Do I lose it?
No, you're in the Matrix, bro.
True. Blue pill, bro. Blue pill.
Are you really alive right now, Beardy? Is the real question.
Yes.
Are you really on a podcast right now?
Yes and no.
Bento and Beardy, or Bento and Baymax, what do you guys think?
For me, it's more. I mean, it used to be physical, but now it's pretty much digital. A lot of my stuff is on a digital platform. I mean, like, I would love to have the physical aspect also, because, being a 90s kid, a lot of the things are more physical, a lot more collectible. But now I feel like it's just, we're in that age of, digital.
Moving more into digital media. Yeah, absolutely. I think it's
more easily accessible too. Yeah.
How about you, Baymax? What do you think digital overall?
I don't like digital that much because, I mean, it's my personal opinion as well. Just in case, let's say, a website goes down and you can't access your stuff, you can't do anything about it. But yeah, I prefer physically, forever physical.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm in the same boat with you there as well. I mean, because you and I are collectors, and so we, of course, like our physical games. I don't have a problem with digital, although if I can get a game physical, I will. But yeah, you guys brought up some good points. Like if a server goes down or they decide to pull it from a website, you know, do you truly own that game then? Or you if you're not able to play it?
Yeah,
Me.
like, mhm, go ahead.
So the only thing I can see the workaround for that is like if say you have Steam and you have what like 300-400 games on your Steam library, you could download them all to your computer, but then you'd have to have the space to allocate for that kind of thing. So there's
That's
workarounds
true.
for it, but I think the physical definitely uh, puts the collector in mind, whereas the digital is just overall convenience for the consumer, right?
Hmm.
Yeah, like I get that, but the only reason why I don't like digital as much is because of what happened with Scott Pilgrim,
Hmm.
because they brought it in it was either 2011 either 2011 or something, or 2012, when they brought out the game and the movie. When the game released, I think a couple of years later they removed the game off the Microsoft servers and PlayStation servers. Like, yeah, you still had it in your library, but for the longest time, let's say you had a factory reset your console, or you had to transfer licenses from one console to another, that license would not transfer over. So you would literally be stuck with a game that you wouldn't be able to play because it's looking for that certificate. But that's my only issue, is because of that brought bad taste into my mouth, because I bought that game digitally and I wasn't able to play it a couple of years later when I want to sit down and replay it.
Yeah, yeah, it's a definitely good point. I know some people made the argument. Well, if you have like a physical disc, sometimes they still need to connect to the internet or a server anyway to play it. But I think there's so many games out there that don't need to do that. That you could just pop a disc in or a cartridge and you can play it without needing any authentication or verification.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas digital, you almost always need to have some kind of verification. Probably I don't know what is it. Probably more than 50% of the time, I would imagine, with a lot of these digital games. So yeah, there is that aspect. You know, do you truly own it? It's more like you just own the rights to play it until they say no more. So we'll see where that goes, because digital's still fairly new. Digital hasn't been around for 30, 40 years like physical media has for video games. So we'll see where it's at another 5, 10 years from now. But that's one of the things that concerns me.
And Baymax made
But
a good point with the consoles. Like when it transitions over into the new system, sometimes there are issues with transferring those games over. And when we see like into the future with later and later revisions of the consoles, are we still going to see the games that we're playing now available on those consoles as a digital download, having already purchased it? Or are we going to
Mhm.
like, I've bought Bastion on Steam, on Switch, on like, and those kind of, I have to rebuy them, right? They're not like a transferable thing. So, kind of, what is the future of digital downloads in with the rise of newer technologies?
Yeah, definitely. I think they're going to have to integrate something where if you buy it on one platform, maybe have it accessible from on another platform, and maybe that's something that an agreement maybe these video game developers and companies can work out, where if you buy it, say like on Steam, maybe I can play it on my PS4 or something,
Yeah.
so that way you're not having to
Or give
purchase
us
it
like a
on.
code for that specific, like Microsoft gives me a code or PlayStation gives me a code that I could just insert into Steam or whatever. I'm trying to get this game saying that, hey, I've already purchased this game. So, I don't have to repurchase it on a different platform.
Right. But I feel like sometimes they do that. That's how their money's made.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's where they need to turn a profit. So that's
Yeah. They're definitely
completely
not hurting
understandable.
from me rebuying it.
Right.
Yeah, definitely not. And getting the revamp version after revamp version,
Right.
HD
uh,
collection.
But I totally
DLCs.
I'm totally with you on that one. The having to rebuy it on every single console.
Yeah. As far as digital, though, I will say this: it brings a convenience factor, especially when you look at stuff like this new stream console that's coming out, or handheld. Um, I know a lot of people are excited for that. I'm excited for that. I'm not really even a portable, gamer really. I don't play much games on the go anymore as I used to. I play when I'm at home, sitting in front of my TV or on my PC. But even this, I have to admit, this thing looks sweet. What do you guys think about it as far as that and the convenience of like portable gaming and not having to swap out cartridges or discs?
Dude, the Steam Deck,
Yeah.
I honestly think that it's probably gonna change the face of PC gaming, I believe, because from the way it just looks in the way it looks like I mean, let's not lie, it looks like a Switch with touchpads. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, let's just put that out there. And like the fact that you can access your entire Steam library in the palm of your hand now. Like this goes back to what episode was it where we talking about handhelds? Was it
I
two?
think it was episode 3.
Yeah, I think
Episode
it's 2
3.
episodes ago.
Like going back to what
Go ahead.
Brady said about
Go ahead and go listen to episode 3 if you guys haven't, by the way.
yeah, it'll relink this whole situation for the Steam Deck. But like eventually what Brady was saying, that another company is going to come up and definitely like try to top whatever's going on with the handhelds right now. And I know there's a lot of Steam players, so like imagine playing Dead by Daylight on the go, or playing Final Fantasy on the go, Control, whatever. That'd be awesome. Because like I was even thinking about it on my train ride back home. I was like, man, like what if they had like a Steam console, and then I saw it on Google, dude, and I got so hyped, and I was like, what? and then I asked Miko about it. He's like, dude, it's gonna be wild. And I was like, bro, like this is the moment I've been waiting for. But
This
also
is where
the
we
thing,
lose Bento.
yeah, completely. So I'm just kidding. But like the thing is with the Steam Deck is like, how Steam supports VR?
Yeah.
Will the Steam Deck be able to support the VR headsets? That's
It's going to have some major hardware in there, and I think in order to handle VR rendering, because as it is right now, you got to have a pretty decent setup to run VR, effectively.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's going to handle VR. I don't think it's going to have anything integrated with VR, but I think it's going to do just your normal, games you normally play on your PC. But yeah, I'm wondering as far as graphically what it's going to be able to handle, because there is a lot of games out there that you don't require much. You don't really need powerful hardware to run them.
Right.
And there's some out there that do. So where's going to be the limit in your Stream library? Can you play every game in your Stream library, or is there some that are going to be incompatible because of the hardware limitations? So
Yeah. It's gonna I was also thinking like, what if they put like an MMO on there or something that has more button configurations than like your average Switch or Stream Deck can handle with those, 2 analog buttons and like six other buttons.
Yeah.
Also the limitation of your internet connection at the time. Some of these games require internet connection. If you're traveling and there's not a good connection, you're not gonna have fun playing that game, or it's not gonna run well or something like that.
Very true. Yeah.
True.
Like Warframe or Dota.
Yeah, there's some games on the Steam library that are super beefy,
Yeah, true.
Or just even a hardwired connection, because I know like with my games, for example, not so much on my PC, but because I have my PC hardwired in, but like on my PS4 in my living room, I'm playing a game, say like Rocket League or any other game that requires internet, and I go into a lagging little fit for a bit, just because my Wi-Fi is not great in my living room. So in my PC where I'm hardwired in, it's fine. If PS4 or something else like in my living room, which is on the other side of the house, I'm not doing so well. Maybe if I run like a Wi-Fi extender or something,
Right.
but other than that, I'm struggling. So I wonder, how it's going to handle Wi-Fi and the connection also, if they're going to do anything to make up for that. Yeah, it's definitely interesting.
Better put a LAN port in it.
Gonna have to, yes, they're going to come out with the OLED version in a couple of years. That's going to have built-in LAN port. You won't get a Pro version, but you'll get the OLED version eventually.
Nintendo.
And we'll charge your next
Nintendo.
$50.
Hey guys, just a quick interruption here for a quick plug for our Patreon. We do have a Patreon available if you enjoy the podcast and you want to support it. You can actually visit us at patreon.com/Modern Gaming Weekly. We do have 3 tiers available for support, and all profit goes right back into the podcast to bring you weekly episodes and to provide more and better content. So you can get early access to episodes, get mentioned in the YouTube Patreon episode credits, suggest topics for the show, as well as get behind-the-scenes photos and videos of the homemaking process here of the podcast. It's pretty interesting. So please check out the Patreon. It is greatly appreciated by all of us here at the show, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the episode. Thank you. What do you guys think about because I think all you guys have a Switch, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Except for Bento, right?
I used to own one, okay.
Oh
Okay,
yeah.
well, Bento has
I'm
the
gonna own one
experience
again.
of playing the
But-
Switch.
Yeah, I'm owning one.
And you know what? Like, the thing I've noticed, I do like physical media, but swapping out those games sometimes when you just want to like play a different game, it is a little bit of an inconvenience. I don't know if maybe I'm just getting lazy now, but yeah, you know, just having to swap out a little cart now. And I love physical media, so coming from me, it's a little odd, but sometimes it is convenient just to go and select a different game and jump right into it versus having to jump in, you know, find the other game and pop out the other one. And
I don't think it's just you being lazy. It's just more convenient not to have to do it, right? It's
Yeah.
less steps for you to play another game.
it's like the you know, work smarter, not harder
Exactly.
type thing.
Now,
Yeah.
what Nintendo should have done with the dock, because you're docking the system, they should have added more cartridge slots to
Mhm.
the system where it could access the games, and it would have been perfectly fine. And then you don't have to get up and go. "Nee."
So
switch it
like
out.
say put like 3 carts in there at once.
Yep.
That would have been cool.
And that'd have been cool. Yeah, probably would have increased the cost a little bit, but
Nintendo, listen.
Nintendo listed.
yeah.
What do you Navi?
Hey, listen.
I don't want to listen.
But yeah, it's definitely adds convenience, I think, for handhelds. You know, even like when we were talking about the handhelds in that other episode, I was talking about the PS Vita, and having digital games on that is just, you know, it's very convenient. So, you know, that's one where I have to get up to digital media. Definitely adds that convenience. You know, you can't show it off in your game room. You can't put it up and have people look at it and you know, kind of flex on your big video game collection, because a big digital collection just, you know, it's not a big flex in my opinion. But you know, if you have your
It's-
game room and you have all your games displayed, you know, I
I
guess
mean-
it depends.
I mean, you could. I mean, you could put a little smart TV or a touch screen and have all your like digital games go. Have it as like
Side-scrolling.
like a Blade dashboard.
That's true. Yeah. And then one thing that we were talking about a little earlier also is about like indie companies that allows them to produce these games a bit cheaper because they don't have to go the route of producing carts or discs and then artwork for it and so on. I don't know if you guys play much indie games, but what do you think about that as far as these companies now can produce these games? Pretty much anybody can nowadays and just pop out a you know, an indie game.
I mean, it's definitely a big advantage to those smaller companies not having to produce. You know, there's money in the physical, right? And I feel like some of the bigger companies are able to produce these you know, physical copies because they have the coin for it. But the digital allows for the smaller guy to get their foot in the door, right? So there's definitely an advantage to it. But you know, there's going to be a market for collector's editions and physical copies for those who want it, and it's just going to get
More
they're
better.
just going to be making those physical copies for the collectors and not exactly for the general public.
No, yeah, for sure. Collector's editions, I think that's going to be one thing. I think as we move into the future where we just see more and more digital, I think companies will still produce maybe fewer physical media, but you'll probably see the collector's editions of those just for people who want it, versus having, you know, thousands
Yeah,
of
and those
the
collector's
standard
editions
copies.
might be more robust, right? Because people are shelling out the coin for something physical, so you'll get, you know, those cool figures, and you'll get those extras that you really love about that game, right? So there's going to be an incentive to getting those physical copies.
Yeah, for sure. Bento and Baymax, you guys have any experience with indie games as far as them producing, you know, any favorites for you guys?
Any favorite indie games? I mean, there's a couple of them. I mean, well, they've come out physically, but they're stupidly expensive physically. Like River City Girls. There's Gris, and Super Meat Boy, because that was a game that I almost picked up today, but it was $80, and I'm like,
Oh
no.
man.
Yeah, a $30 game, physically for the Switch, made through limited run, is $80, and it was brand new and sealed. I'm like, I get it, it's brand new and sealed, but I want to open up and play it.
Exactly. Yeah. That's why I don't buy sealed games unless I can get a really, really good deal on them, because I want to open them up and play it. And I'm just going to kill the value if I open it up. So,
That's what
it's like a double-edged sword.
That's what I did with what's it called? With Scott Pilgrim. I bought well, one was a gift, and the other one I had to get because it was a collector's edition. But still, like, I want to open up a copy and play it because it's one of my favorite games.
For sure, man. And Bento, you have any that come to mind as far as indie games that you enjoyed that were digital only?
I mean, I don't really play indie games too much, so I don't know what would really come out physically. I don't know, be excited for.
We're still waiting on Bento to develop Bento Panic as a mini game.
It's in the works.
But I mean, like, aside from Faz, like, if they fix that, then yeah, definitely would want to get that as a physical collector.
That'd be cool for
I
sure.
put so many hours in that, dude. Do you know what level I am? It's ridiculous.
Phasmophobia.
Yeah, but I mean, there's another one that probably would see physical if I want to test it out first, because it looks like it's really promising. It's a new Ghost Hunters one. I forgot the exact title of it, but you can like read to the ghost and like, the power of Christ compels you. You can actually like do the rituals,
exercise the demons.
Yeah, dude. So like,
exercise the demons.
If the digital turns out very well and they do release a physical copy, if it's even worth it, you know what I'm saying? I'll definitely buy it.
Yeah, for sure. And so that brings up a good point as far as like some of the games that Baymax was mentioning. You say, getting digital to save money. There's some games out there that you have to get digital because the physical copy is just way too expensive. One that I know Baymax has experience with and will agree on me with this one is the Misadventures of Tronbon. That game I got it for I believe $5 or $5.99 on my PS3 in the PlayStation Store. But the physical copy is what, like at least $250 $250?
No, it's actually more now.
It's more now.
Physical copy, that's if it's complete in box, you're looking at almost $700.
Jesus. For a PS3 game?
Or a PS1 game.
It's a PS1.
PS1?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, I regret giving my PS1 games to my cousins in the Philippines.
Yeah, so I mean, there's those situations where you kind of have to go with digital because the game became real rare, or maybe they didn't produce too many copies. But yeah, I mean, is there any other games that you guys could think of that you had to get digital because the physical copy just was too rare or too expensive?
Just letting you know, Trombone is 582 complete.
582.
Yep, as of right now. Brand new 670.
Yeah,
but back to
insane.
the question. Sorry.
Well, I know Dragon Ball GT Final Bout, the original one that came out in I think it was 97.
Mhm.
That one, because they remade the game in 2004 and it had like a different cover, a different disc, like the art on the disc was a little different. So the value went down when they remade it. But that original copy, when it was out, because I think they only produced like 10,000 copies, that one sealed was going for about $900 back in like the early 2000s. And even now, I think it's going to run you about $75 to about $120 to get it used. So, I mean, it's still, it could still be a bit up there. It's not a great game, but it's just hard to find. They didn't make too many. I actually broke a copy that I rented, so there's definitely less than 10,000 now. I had rented it from this local place, and I was taking it to my friend's house. And so, smart me, I put it in my pocket, just the disc, and I'm riding to my friend's house on my bike, all excited, and I popped up on a curb and cracked the disc in half, and That was it. I
And you
tried to take it
returned
back.
it that way?
I returned it and I tried to say, "Oh, it was cracked when I got it," but it was, they didn't believe me.
My God, dude, that's wild.
April, it's not Blockbuster. You can't do that.
But even back then, yeah, I mean, the game was still kind of pricey, and so. But yeah, how about you, Beardy? Any experience with that?
Not really. I usually buy digital, to be honest. I'll buy a physical if I think the only physical I bought in the last like 6 years was that new Miles Morales game, just because I really, really love Spider-Man and I wanted,
Yeah.
to have it on my shelf or whatever. But I just want to go back. Baymax brought up a good point of when he bought, what was it? It wasn't River City twice, but like for
Oh,
those
I was-
people, yeah, for those people who really love a game, buying the physical to have it, but also having the digital as a convenience factor, I think is a really interesting idea. And I mean, the companies aren't hurting for it, but it's with the introduction of a lot of digital downloads, you have that convenience now, just being able to play it whenever you want and not having to put the disc in.
Yeah, for sure. And like Blu-rays were doing that for a while, where you would get like the Blu-ray plus like the DVD plus like the code to watch it online. But you
Dude,
still
that's
had to
wild.
open it up. You still had to open it up to get those. I think what would be cool if you bought like a video game is you get the sealed video game, but then maybe you get like an email with the digital code, so that way you can play the game digitally and not have to open up the actual game if you want it just for collector's purposes, I guess. Some people prefer that to keep the game sealed. Like me personally, as long as I have it complete,
Yeah.
I like to have the game complete. Like if it has the disc, the
Or
manual.
maybe like some
case,
some
I'm
movies
happy.
have those like stickers on the front of them where you can just like peel it off and it has like a code on the back. You could do that, but I mean, I guess you run the risk of people peeling the stickers off of everything.
Right.
Yeah, I don't trust people.
Me neither.
And go ahead, Baymax.
Oh no, I can't say it on podcast. It deals with work.
Oh, okay. I mean, you can allude to the company.
No, I'm good.
Okay. And then as far as physical media just going forward, we've seen a little bit more digital kind of creep its way in more and more over the last few years.
Mhm.
Do you think physical media is eventually doomed? We're just not going to see any more, 5 to like 10 years from now?
Personally, I don't think it's gonna be doomed. It's more of gonna become like a niche market,
Mhm.
like so to speak.
Gonna be like trading cards.
Yeah, it's gonna be like everything's in a digital world, but those people who are really committed and that want it will definitely buy for collector's purpose.
Yeah.
Like
I think
vinyl
it'll
records.
actually increase the value of some of these physical
Pretty
copies.
much, it's like the less people there are on that one niche, the higher value that niche will be.
Yeah.
It's just economics, bro. Like that's what I think. Like honestly, it's nice to have the physical be like, like, oh yeah, like it brings back memories. Like, it may be a sentimental thing for somebody,
And the gaming industry is a huge industry with millions and millions and millions of players, right? And it's
Mhm.
almost like cars, where it's like, yes, you have the mass market Kia or whatever, but those hardcore fans who want, the Supra or the R34 or any of these really, really high value cars are going to get them because those are collector's items and those are things that they seek after, right?
That's why it's so expensive.
And that's why they're so expensive. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's going to be a thing too. Like, I pretty much got into gaming and, fell in love with it in the 90s growing up as a kid. I think that's the way it is with a lot of people. If you were, played games in the 80s, 90s, maybe even like the early 2000s, you're used to physical media. So there is that nostalgia that's attached to it.
Mhm.
But, when you start having these kids that are growing up with mostly digital, they're not going to have the nostalgia for physical media. So, are they going to want to jump into it and have a love for it? I don't think as much. You might get those people who are just old souls who want the physical because that's what their dad had or whatever. But I think the nostalgia eventually will kind of wear off with future generations where they're just not going to be used to it.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
I mean, you'll
feel
probably
like-
get, like our generation that passes all their games down to their kids or whatever. But, eventually 2-3 generations down the line, when everything's digital, like how is the physical market going to accommodate for that, I guess?
It's going to
Yeah.
become like a lost art, so to speak.
Hmm.
You know, it's like
Yeah.
a rarity at that point.
Yeah. You
And
look at like
also
music CDs
with the
nowadays.
discs
Those
getting
are
damaged or the boxes getting, eventually those things are going to deteriorate. They're physical items and they're going to wear.
Yeah. Unless
Yeah.
they're well kept.
Unless,
Like in
even if they're well kept, eventually they're
gonna put him in a chamber, dude, a parabolic time chamber.
Yeah.
yeah, that's the bad thing with physical media, especially for collectors too, is this stuff isn't going to last forever, unfortunately.
Wear and tear.
And yeah, I mean, and like Baymax mentioned it right now, like disc rot. You're going to have these games that are, the data is just going to start to wear away and they won't be playable anymore. You'll still have the media there, I mean, to display, I guess, but you'll pop in that Sega Saturn game, in 2035 and it's not going to boot up. So there is that, but what do you think, Baymax? You think physical media is doomed going forward?
No, I doubt it, because people are gonna forever want something physically, because it gives them something to actually go get. Because let's say you're at Walmart, you want to look for something fun to do, it's right there. You could get it physically right there and ready to go, and just pop in and move on.
But what about those people like me who are just standing in line on their phones and be like, oh, well, I could just download this really quick, boop, and I have the game,
Yeah.
You could do that, but
could be in line sitting on the train with a Steam Deck and he's just like, boop.
Final
but
Fantasy.
time out. But the Steam Deck is built for online games, so basically digital games.
Yeah.
But because they didn't ever mentioned, hey, there's gonna be physical cartridges or discs that you could put into the system. It was physically just for Steam Library.
That's true.
So
I mean, I'm just saying that I think eventually convenience is going to outweigh having it there.
But and one other thing as well, there's exclusivities. So whatever, let's say, well, now Horizon Zero Dawn is on Steam, but it was PlayStation exclusive only. Yeah. It's like there's always going to be exclusivities for each console or digital platforms. Like with Spider-Man, that's forever going to be on PlayStation. You're never going to see that on anything, well, other than Steam probably, but there's always going to have that exclusivity, and then the only way that you can either get it is either digitally through either the PlayStation Store or physically through a brick and mortar stores.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, that's true. I think I think there's always going to be how Bento mentioned earlier, like a niche market for people who want physical media, and you see it now with like people who buy vinyls or still like want to get like music CDs and things like that, cassettes, DVDs, Blu-rays. So there's going to be that market, I think, even 5, 10, 15 years from now, where you're going to get people who want the the physical media, and they're going to go ahead and they're going to do what they can to keep it moving. And we have companies out there now like Limited Run Games. There's Strictly Limited Games. I Am 8-Bit, just to mention a few that produce physical media stuff that's usually just digital, and they move it into a physical format so people could buy. And it's been super popular. I know Limited Run Games, for example, I buy from them a lot, and they've blown up over the last few years for people who want this physical media. So I think going forward, it's going to be a niche market, but I think it's still going to be something people want.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah,
that's definitely a good point with exclusivity. I'm not gonna lie.
It's like how it's happening right now. Like, how like we used to get CDs. Now they're stopping kind of production of CDs. It's all digital. But I noticed now, instead of them printing out like a CD, they're offering vinyls.
Yeah.
So like special editions of that artist or whatnot,
Oh yeah. And then they have like
kind of like that.
records and
like that's how I feel like it is with the physical. Like when I see your Baymax, like like looking at DS Koopa stuff, or like you guys are getting stuff from Limited Run. Like I do my research on it. Like I see why it's at that price, and that's why it's collectible at that point. So I completely understand. Like I'm still learning about it, because like I got into the game state late.
Speaking of DS Koopa, yeah, that's a good point. So he runs Cody, who runs a Pink Gorilla Games in Seattle, Washington, and so it's a retro game store where they sell, pretty much everything from like Atari to Super Nintendo, original Xbox, etc. And so there's not a lot of stores around that do that. They're pretty much specialty stores now. Because you can't go to main chains like GameStop anymore and get like a Super Nintendo game.
Right.
So stores like that, there is a big still want for those type of games. And it's funny because he streams on Twitch, and when I'm in there watching him, there's always a lot of times where people jump in, and one of the questions I always see asked is like, "Oh wow, people still really care about Super Nintendo, or people still
Uh-huh.
really play PS2 games?" And like in my mind, I'm like, "Well, of course, yeah. Like, why wouldn't you?" It's like saying, "Do people really still watch movies from the '80s?" Like, yeah, of course they do. It's still good entertainment. But yeah, I think there's some people that don't get it, maybe because those are some of the people who grew up more in the digital age or the newer area or era. But yeah, I think there's going to be a want for it for brick and mortar stores, and hopefully those stay around for a bit. I know we've been
Mhm.
seeing them disappear more and more. Hopefully, yeah. I mean, we still see the stores and the online stores like Limited Run Games that are around and providing that kind of physical media.
And you were mentioning like the physical deterioration of the
Mhm.
game also. So it's gonna eventually need to be remade, or made digitally at that point, just to preserve the title.
Yeah. Yeah, it'd be a good point to talk on game preservation because there's always an argument like which is better, digital or physical for game preservation. And the argument is usually, well, digital's the way to go because you can save those files like on a hard drive or whatever. And that is true because eventually the physical media won't work anymore.
Mhm.
But then there's also what we talked about earlier with, servers. If they take that server down, then,
Right.
there goes the
That's
game. Or
Yeah. There's pros and cons to it. It's literally a double-edged sword, like you mentioned earlier.
Yeah. What do you guys think, though, as far as game preservation? You think digital's probably the way to go to save some of these games going into the future?
To be fair,
Some
it depends on the future, right?
Yeah.
Because they both have their pros and cons. Uh, but I mean, if the trajectory of technology increases as it's been going, I feel like the preservation that way is a little bit more safe. But if it, heaven forbid, servers go down or technology gets whatever, then there's that aspect. On the other hand, physical, you have it with you, but it also deteriorates just over time. So, I mean, there's goods and bad with both, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think being a game collector, I know we're on different spectrums, like from me and Baymax probably to like Bento and Beardy, because we're more of like collectors and physical. I know Beardy for sure likes the digital, but I think digital probably is the way to go to preserve games. If I can keep a game like on a hard drive, that's going to last longer than maybe a game cartridge or a disc,
Mhm.
or a company that could keep it on multiple servers as well, and
Right.
when that server gets old, transfer it to a new one and a new one, and it almost creates like this infinite process of saving this data, and not just for video games, but data in general. But yeah, I think digital is probably going to be the way to go.
Yeah.
And no, go ahead.
I was gonna say, especially for people who like can only afford, so much, they can't really like get the physical aspect of it, like the game.
Well, the physicals are always going to be a set price. Most physicals nowadays are $60, right? But with the
Yeah.
digital editions, you can get them on, you can catch them on sale, or you can catch them
Mhm.
different websites for cheaper, like
Mhm.
Humble Bundle or something like that. So it definitely provides a market for lower income people to get access to these games.
Right.
That is true. Yeah. So do you think overall people could save more money going with digital versus physical then?
Oh yeah, I mean, I don't even
Yeah.
buy anything on Steam unless it's 60% off or more. I wait for those sales, dude.
Or you
I'll
go
just
on
go
CD
all in.
keys.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
CD keys, Humble Bundle. I'll wait for all of that because it gives you the bulk. It doesn't just give you one game, so I feel like I get my money's worth.
Yeah, for me, I have to get games on sale if they're going to be digital. I don't think I would ever pay full price for a digital game just because I feel like if I'm not going to get something that I feel like I completely own and I can hold it and say this is mine, then I don't want to pay $60 for a game. If I could get it on sale and pay half price, then I'm all for it. But yeah, I wouldn't pay 100% retail on a digital game personally.
I don't blame you.
Yeah, and I mean, with the amount of games I want to play and having them $60 for each game, there's only so many games a year that I can physically purchase myself.
Yeah.
But there's at least 4 or 5 times more games I can buy if I just bought it digitally.
Yeah, for sure. And you still want to support the game companies as well because they got to keep the lights on. But
Right.
I would rather say pay a discounted price on the game, and if I enjoy the game, support the company more with future purchases or DLCs, things like that,
DLC or merch or
cosmetics,
whatever.
whatever, merch. Yeah, exactly. And then just pay $60 for a digital game.
Right. Like if I get a free game and I know they have DLC or they have in-game content like skins or something, I can buy T-shirts, plushies, whatever. I'll support them that way because if I play 60 hours on a free game, I feel like I got my money's worth and I should actually support them because I actually enjoy the game. So I will actually go out of my way to buy that kind of merch.
Yeah, I could dump all my money into Dead by Daylight.
I will say I think every video game company, when they come out with a game, should come out with plushies for that game. I would be all for that. If I can go get some DVD plushies or anything, any game, I would go get them.
I would too. I'm not gonna lie.
That's why if I see an Android Trapper, dude, I'm buying it.
Mine's just gonna be a 3D printed model of a tunnel.
There you go. And Bento's gonna jump back in these hit boxes on Dead by Daylight.
Come on, dude.
It's just gonna be a little Nendroid, but there's gonna be like a plastic box like 3 times the size of it.
It's just beardy.
It'll be just a hitbox on there.
Oh yeah, it comes full circle every episode. How about the environmental impact? I mean, that's another thing to consider with physical games. I would say I don't think video games are the worst culprit when it comes to the environment and what we're doing to the planet, but it is something to consider. So what do you guys think as far as the environmental impact for physical versus digital?
So should we do what Atari did and bury ET?
We should never dump games into a landfill. That's I consider.
Oh my god, dude!
Comics did the same thing. Just don't do it. Just don't do it.
Come on, it'll be fun.
Set that shit on fire. It's not good for the environment. Stop it.
It's definitely not good to burn plastic and metal parts.
Alamogordo is like an hour and a half from where I live, and I always thought that was a myth. That's why when they were going to dig it up, I didn't even go. I was like, you know what? I want to go to check it out, but I feel like it's going to be a big waste of time because nothing's buried there. I was like, there's no way they dumped all these games in the landfill, and sure enough, they dug up all these games, not just ET, but tons of different games they from Atari they dug up that day. So
wow,
I believe it.
Yeah, it's interesting. And now they're going for a lot on eBay. I could have went and snagged one. But
dang,
I mean, we could still go. Just saying.
I mean, as far as in the future for physical games, there's materials that could probably be better suited for longevity and environmental impact and stuff like that. But unless the way the games are made changed, I don't see the materials kind of changing for the discs or anything like that, or the cartridges or whatnot.
Yeah,
I mean, look at Switch games; they're so small in DS.
Yeah, they're getting tinier and tinier. So imagine the environmental footprint is a little bit smaller.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah,
not as much plastic.
Yeah, I wonder how long it takes for a disc to biodegrade as well. That'd be an interesting
that'd be
thing to look into.
I don't know. Let's look at a Saturn game.
Oh, I mean, Saturn game's probably faster than any other. I'm sure.
Because that was 90 for like, let's say 92, 90 something.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And it's so weird. I remember like in the 90s, they were talking about how long will media last on a CD, and there was always like the argument, well, CDs haven't really been around long enough to see how long they'll last as far as like the like disc rot and things like that, the data wearing off on them. But now we're at a time like 20 years later, 25 years later, where we can start having that talk because there is discs now that are just losing data that have been around for like 30 years. A lot of it has to do on the environment, how well you take care of it, etc. But man, like there's so many Saturn games that I've come across that have like disc rot just because they were like in a humid area. It's insane. And that's why I don't collect Saturn games.
Oh, speaking of Saturn, I just got a Saturn. It's a collecting thing I have to do now. But gotta watch out for those disc rot.
Make sure you get the game. Highly recommend it. Street Fighter, the movie, the game. That's
No.
Oh, fuck.
heard it's a great game.
I'm not gonna deal with Blanca.
I want to play it now just to see if I don't know if Blanca's in the game. I'm sure he is.
Aren't you guys gonna 1v1 each other?
Yeah, we
Street
got to
Fighter.
1v1 each other on that game, Baymax.
So people who are listening,
I
who
will.
do you think are gonna win, Abel or Baymax? We'll
He
find out
was
in the
afraid
next
to catch these
episode.
hands.
I will sweep you 25 times until you die.
You wish. You wish.
With Jean-Claude Van Damme as Colonel Guile.
I believe you.
Oh, just walk away from the game. I'm like, that hit.
He was toxic.
But no, that's awesome. You got a Sega Saturn. I got one. I'll tell you a real quick story how I got my Sega Saturn. It was kind of weird. So I would stop into like pawn shops every once in a while to get games or consoles. And so I go into this pawn shop and I look and they have this big stack of Sega Genesis Model 2s. And I already had one, but I'm like, I wonder what they're priced at. So I go and I look and they're $20. This is like in the early 2000s. And so I look and one of the ones on top is a Sega Saturn, but it's listed as a Sega Genesis Model 2. And I'm like, no way they're selling this for $20. So I guess they just overlooked it. It was a Sega Saturn complete. So I call the guy over and I'm like, yeah, can I get this console right here? And I'm like thinking for sure he's going to catch it and say, oh, this is a different one. This is the price on it. And nope, they sold it to me for $20. So that's how I got my Sega Saturn.
Bruh.
I would be super jealous. I would be screaming internally. I'm like, ah!
Dude, for real, he'll be like, "How-
Sitting there sweating, like, please don't know what it is. Please don't know
Yes.
what it is.
It's like the Key and Peele, it's like Key and Peele,
Yeah.
the skits. The sweat is just
The
coming
sweat
down.
dripping. Yeah, no, it was pretty awesome. And I've had it now. Geez, it's like almost 20 years. And the only game I have for it is Doom. One of the worst versions of Doom, but I have Doom.
Doom is
But
such
yeah.
a fun game.
It is. That's another one that you can play digitally on just about any anything that runs any kind of operating system.
True.
I don't know if you guys have seen that Bento and Beardy. There's like this ongoing like meme of electronics you can get Doom to run on.
Oh yeah, I've seen that. You can even get it to run on a calculator or something.
Yeah, exactly.
I actually
Yeah.
did that one.
Did you?
The
graphic calculator.
Yeah, the graphing calculator.
Mm.
With the ones in school. I was bored and we had a computer next to our well, I was sitting next to a computer. You know what the hell I was doing, not paying attention to class. And we put Doom on the graphing calculator and that's what I did with my first semester of high school.
Dude, I did that for my whole semester of keyboarding. We just played Unreal Tournament. I loaded on the LAN,
same.
and we all played in class, dude. We got caught one time, but it was funny.
Yeah, when I was in computer class in high school too, it was Napster and Unreal Tournament, dude. And we would just do
Dude.
like LAN games there. It was such a good time.
Oh yeah.
It's back when we were using floppy disks. If I can date
Back-
myself a little bit.
Back in my day.
Back
And
in
Pepperidge Farm remembers.
old head Able Geek. All right, but any final thoughts on digital games, physical in general?
Stay forever physical, guys. Just saying. It will never go out of style.
It's like money, dude. Physical is king.
Exactly. It's
Cash is
gold
king.
mine.
Cash money, man.
Yeah, you
Ready?
go buy your $800 game. I'll stick with my digital download for $3.
Sorry. $800, yeah. But guess what? I own the game, so I don't have to buy that.
So do I, and I only paid
Triple in
$3
price.
for it.
Sir, I only spent $20 when it was out in New York.
Beardy said, and if they take it away, I'll just go buy another $3 game.
Exactly.
Oh, Jesus. All right. Well, that's going to wrap up this episode 5 of the Modern Gaming Weekly podcast. Baymax, go ahead and give people your socials. Where can they find you online?
Well, you can find me online on Twitter with BrownBaymax_TV or on Twitch as Brown Baymax or on Instagram, BrownBaymax.tv or Brown Baymax itself.
All right, Bento, where can people find you online?
You can find me online on Twitch as Bento Box Senpai, also on Twitter and now my Instagram, Bento Senpapi.
There we go. And Beardy, where can people find you online?
You can find me on the Twitch, Instagram, and Twitter at Bearded Jalapeno.
There you go. And make sure you guys stick around next week because we're actually going to be doing the podcast from Classic Game Fest in Austin, Texas. Not at the convention, but we're going to be doing it from our hotel, giving our insights and experiences straight from Austin, Texas. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be me, Baymax, Bento, and Captain Sparky will be joining us. Not a normal member of the podcast, but great buddy of ours that plays games with us. And he'll be joining us there. And it's going to be a lot of fun. You guys can find me at the Able Geek on just about any social media, Twitter and Twitch is where I'm most active. And give the podcast a follow as well on Instagram, Modern Gaming Weekly. And be much appreciated. All right, guys.
Peace.
Hey!
Later.
See you guys. We'll see you guys next week. Later.